focus isn't just about getting your work done. It's also about being present in conversations. How many of us check our phones mid-meeting? Or how many of us mentally drift off while we're talking to a friend? Hello and welcome to Habit Nerd, a podcast show that knows that few things can have a more powerful impact on your life than improving your daily systems, habits, and mindset. I'm your host, Dr. Bree Hearn, a multi-passionate researcher, lecturer, speaker, and coach. Once a perfectionist who was always busy but not necessarily effective, I overcame illness and burnout and am now obsessed with sharing the science and systems for working with efficiency and habits for abundant health in your mind and your body. Each week, my guests and I share stories and lessons backed by research. So let's buckle up and dive straight into today's empowering conversation. Hi there. Thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whatever time you're coming in and listening to this episode. I am Bree, and a warm welcome to the Habit Nerd podcast, the show where we dive deep into the habits that help you take control of your time, your energy, and your overall well-being for work, family, and fun. Now, today we are talking about something that we all struggle with, and that is staying focused in a world full of distractions. So let me help you by setting the scene. You sit down at your desk, you're determined to finally knock out that task you've been putting off. You're ready, you're motivated. And then, ping, your inbox demands your attention. Your phone vibrates. Oh, and wait, didn't you mean to check that one news article? 5 minutes later, you're deep in a social media rabbit hole, and that task, yep, it is still untouched. Does this sound familiar? Well, don't worry, it's okay because you are not alone. In fact, experts would say that we've trained our brains to actually look for and crave these distractions. So today in this episode of The Habit Nerd, we are breaking down why this happens, and more importantly, how you can take back control. So let's get into it. So my wonderful listeners, distraction isn't just a bad habit, it's something we have literally wired into our brains. There's a positive psychologist, and her name is Dr. Zelana Montminy. She explains that every notification, every like, every ping, every message triggers a hit of dopamine, and this makes us crave more interruptions. Also, more research alert, according to Dr. Gloria Mark, who is an expert in attention research, multitasking is actually a myth. When we switch between tasks, our brains are actually erasing and rewriting information. So it's sort of like a whiteboard being wiped over and over again. And guess what the result is? More mistakes, slower work, and higher stress. And you know how people, mostly women in my experience, say that they can multitask? And they or we wear this like a badge of honor? I'm sorry to say that the science says otherwise. But here is the good news. Just like we've trained our brains to be distracted, we can retrain them to focus. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. All right, habit nerds, let's start with the basics, and that is your environment. Dr. Montminy suggests creating focus rituals. So these are cues that tell your brain that it's time to concentrate. Your focus ritual might be something like sitting in the same chair with your coffee, putting your phone in another room, or even starting your deep work with a specific playlist. The goal? Make focus your default mode, not distraction. Then there's goal setting. Dr. Mark explains that our brains naturally pay attention to what aligns with our priorities. So therefore, it's a great idea to make your goals visible. Write them down. Put them where you can see them. A post-it note on your desk? That's perfect. A notebook with a list of to-dos with little check boxes? Even better. A screensaver with your top priorities? Another great idea. The key is to remind your brain what actually matters and to keep returning to that consistently throughout the day. Now, it's also, habit nerds, important to talk about breaking out of this autopilot cycle that we find ourselves in. Do you ever find yourself reaching for your phone without even realizing it? I know I do. That's because our brains love habits. Our brain loves patterns, tendencies that we go back to over and over. So the trick is to start catching yourself in the act. Dr. Mark calls this meta-awareness. So basically, it's about noticing your distractions before they take over. So the next time you feel that impulse to check Instagram, pause and ask yourself with some compassion and some self-kindness, why am I doing this? Am I avoiding something? Am I just bored? Because habit nerds, that tiny moment of self-awareness, it is a game changer. And a helpful tip for you might be, if you do need an alternative, keep something nearby so that when you do catch yourself going to pick up your phone, for example, maybe you could pick up a notebook or a book instead, because that will satisfy the urge to do something without falling into a phone cycle or a social media spiral. Hi Habit Nerd listeners, have I got a treat for you. The brand new Gen AI productivity system has been created by well-known behavioral science consultancy Inventium. And get ready, because this course will change the way you work. No more endless to-do lists and time-wasting tasks. This course shows you how to leverage the power of generative AI to become more productive and to get things done better than ever before. It covers so much, including prompting hacks, Gen AI for writing and creativity, Gen AI for meetings and analysing data, just to name a few. I've done the self-paced course, learned a huge amount, and I know that I will save myself hours and hours in the week now. Habit nerds, this is a game changer for working smarter in ways you didn't even think were possible. To get started now, you will find a unique link in the show notes of this episode. And in even better news, there is a 10% discount code for Habit Nerd listeners with the code BRIE10. Generative AI is the future of work and of working with way more efficiency. Can you afford to be left behind? Now, Habit Nerds, I have spoken about this in a few different contexts, but we need to now discuss harnessing your energy for better focus. This has been a game changer for me, because did you know that your ability to focus isn't the same all day long? Dr. Mark's research shows us that most of us have peak focus times. For most people, they are usually mid-morning and mid-afternoon. Once you pay attention to when these pockets of time are for you, the trick is to get really disciplined about scheduling your hardest tasks for when your brain is naturally at its sharpest. It might be helpful to keep a simple log of when you feel most focused and use that information to plan your day smarter. I've got a free, really simple audit to help you do that over at Habit Nerd on Instagram. Go and check it out. Now, here's another little secret. If you find yourself compulsively checking your phone, it's often a sign that your brain is a bit tired. So maybe that is your cue to step away and take a real break. One that doesn't involve a screen and doesn't involve scrolling. Suggestions would be to just stand up and take a stretch, go for a brief walk outside, make yourself a cup of tea or fill up your water bottle. Stare at the window, anything that lets your mind truly rest and truly reset. And guess what else, Habit Nerds? Focus isn't just about getting your work done. It's also about being present in conversations. How many of us check our phones mid-meeting? Or how many of us mentally drift off while we're talking to a friend? Dr. Montmini says, and I've been experimenting with this lately to get great results, practicing active listening, so making eye contact and asking real questions, doesn't just improve focus, it also strengthens our relationship. And again, at the risk, Habit Nerds, of sounding like a broken record, let us not forget rest. Think of your brain like an artist's canvas. To focus and to get good work done and to improve relationships by focusing on the person and the topic that you're talking about, your brain needs negative space. If you pack every moment with content consumption, your brain never gets a chance to breathe. Remember, downtime fuels uptime. So take real breaks, let your mind wander, and recognize that your attention is a precious resource. And the question is, how do you want to spend it? So, habit nerds, a very brief summary for you of today's content in this podcast. Some do's and don'ts to help you improve your focus and obviously get more meaningful work done. Do cultivate meta-awareness by pausing to question your impulses. Redirect your attention and try and transform these unconscious habits into deliberate choices. Habit nerds, do track your daily energy levels to identify the high and the low energy patterns and schedule your most demanding tasks during your peak hours and less complex work for when your focus dips a little bit. And set emotional goals by visualizing how you want to feel at the end of your day. Do you want to feel calm and proud and energized? Therefore, let those desired emotions guide your behavior and your focus. Some don'ts, some don't do's from this episode. Let your goals remain abstract or out of sight. Do not let them be something that you have to think too much about. Make sure you write them down, keep your goals for that day visible in your workspace, and this helps train your brain with lots of support to concentrate on what is most important for that day. Don't assume shallow interactions are inevitable. Instead, try and practice active listening by maintaining eye contact, tuning into what others are saying, and asking questions. And don't habit nerds ever mistake scrolling or consuming content for an actual break. A true break allows your brain to rest and recover. All right, that's it for today's episode of the Habit Nerd podcast. If you found these tips helpful, share this episode with a friend who's always saying, I just can't focus. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode packed with practical strategies to help you live and work better. Until next time, Habit Nerds, stay focused, stay mindful, and take back control of your attention. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Habit Nerd. I hope you found some new inspiration, learned something new, or gained a fresh perspective. If you did enjoy the episode, I would be really grateful if you could please leave a 5-star review, as it helps the show get in the ears of new listeners, plus it should only take you 5 seconds. If you're keen for more tips and insights, then head over to Instagram and follow Habit Nerd.